Assalamu alaikum. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing that went through my mind when I got invited to speak at TEDx was, will I have enough time to put a thoughtful talk together, given the time constraints of being an entrepreneur in any growing startup? I quickly started practicing every chance I got. It didn't matter. Anytime I was alone, in the elevator, in the shower, on the way to work. And one day, funny story for you, as I was leaving to the airport, based out of Toronto, so leaving to the airport a few days ago to come here and speak to you guys, I caught the security guard downstairs of the building, nudged his friend and pointed at me and says, "That guy's been talking to himself lately." And it dawned on me that was such a symbolic moment. It captured what everyday entrepreneurs go through. People in general, what's going on in your head, and why you do the things that you do, and what people perceive what it is that you're doing. It's a bit of an extreme example, but I kind of took this notion and thought about it a little bit more on my way to the airport, and came up with the following conclusion. Nothing in my life that I've ever done that's been worthwhile wasn't initially received with, "You're out of your mind." You're out of your mind, مجنون. شو بتحكي يا زلمة? I've heard it time and time again, anytime I've done anything that was worthwhile. So in a sense, I took that notion and pushed it a bit further and came to another conclusion. If you're about to take risks in life, if you're about to go out and do something different, the first thing you should look for is for somebody to tell you that you're crazy. When that happens, you know that you're pushing the boundaries, or at least getting a chance at changing the way people think. TEDx is all about kind of sharing new ways to think of life. Here's mine. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a movie director. I love storytelling, always tell stories, always wanted to be one. Never really happened, but almost to make up for it, I kind of started thinking my life as a story, as a movie. Every time I come across interesting decisions in life, I ask myself, which choice will make my story more interesting? Movies are such a great platform for life because they compress everything that's being shown into a simplified version. That's the way that great entrepreneurs and great businessmen that I've met and been inspired by have thought. They're always very quick on their feet when they need to make a decision. It's a great platform that works for me, and I encourage you to try it. So all this talk about movies, why did I never go into the movie business to begin with? It was simple. I got sucked into the game of money and finance and banking. That's all I heard around the family and the friends. It's the logical way. You go do your undergrad degree in business, you do whatever you want after that. But guess what? Did pretty decently in my GMATs, and it was do your business degree, do your MBA. That's the differentiator. And then it was, well, I got an offer on Wall Street. Well, you can't say no to that. Nobody says no to Wall Street. Go do it for a few years. It's just like another degree. Then go do whatever the hell you want. The problem was that I didn't belong on Wall Street. I got myself to there for all the wrong reasons. It's kind of like that, Wall Street to me is kind of like that Danny DeVito quote in a movie called Other People's Money. He says, life is a game, and the winner is the one that dies with the most money. And that's kind of the epitome of what I thought Wall Street was about. The problem was that that's all I knew at the moment. That's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be inspiring people and leading and being creative. And I was furthest thing from that. I was a terrible banker. And the problem was that it got harder and harder and harder, and people were telling me, well, what else are you going to do? That's all you've been doing your whole life, so stick in finance. Until one day I came across this book. It was called Ignore Everybody. My first thoughts were, this author is pretty antisocial, but dug a little deeper into the book and it had some meaning. Turned out this author, the real life story of the author, he would draw stick figures on stickers and kind of keep them floating around anywhere he went. And he once put them on together, put them on the web, and now starts writing self-help books that help confuse people like me. But it worked. It actually did work. And the reason, and what he's really trying to say is, when you're actually going to make a decision in life, not all the time, of course not, but when you're about to take a decision in life, it does make sense, because if you think about it, 90% of the people you ask an opinion for typically don't care. They actually don't care what you're up to. Another 9% probably don't want what's best for you, and you're left with about a 1%, which is typically your family and your friends, and those are usually the conservative type. The problem is that 100% of the people give you an answer when you ask for an opinion. And so I found this to be hugely useful when you're just about to take that leap forward and do something. There's nobody who knows what's going on better than you. So one day I did it. I quit. I was so happy. I remember that first day, all I did was nothing. And it was the greatest day in the world. I was sharing it with my roommate, Ghassan Halazon, who's in the crowd today. What's going on, Azzo? Who saw it all. He saw me think through it and read this, ignore everybody. He'd come back from work with roommates, and he'd see me ignoring him and reading the book, and it was going nowhere. But so I did it, and moved to a city. I moved to a city that I knew nothing about, to partner with a bunch of guys, young, energetic guys, who are today my partners. We started TeamBuy. We knew nothing about each other, sat down and started this TeamBuy. This is the first group buying website in Canada. It's a deal-a-day concept, so we offer fun things to do, eat, and see in the city. And these huge discounts are limited time offers that are contingent on a minimum number of people signing on to them to get them through. We're the first in Canada, but we weren't the first in the world, so we needed to make sure that we did well in Canada. And we did it through a number of ways, especially if you consider that it's a low barrier type model. I mean, think about it. It's not a huge deal when you put a deal up and you're waiting for people to jump on it. It's not exactly that innovative of a concept. So we needed to make sure that we were going to get ahead of all the competition that was going to jump in, and I'll tell you how in a bit. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about how tough it was at the very beginning. It was terrible. I remember starting getting rash on my hands. My mom's like, come back home, come back to Jordan. And it was a tough time. We had trademark issues, we had legal issues, we had technology issues. Our balance sheet didn't even balance. And it was a tough time, but we figured it out. I think at the time I came across a quote, somebody that said, we were worried looking at all these big American companies, well-funded, coming in, throwing money at the problem. And we were worried. It was like a few guys really in a bedroom at the time. And we came across this quote. It sticks with me today, but it says, don't underestimate what a few people in a room can do to move the world forward. In fact, that's the only thing that's ever has. And we pushed and pushed, and finally we started seeing some traction. And soon enough, once we got that prototype, we started thinking about ways to fund the company. And we were always consumed with this idea of getting the word out as soon as possible, because it was such a competitive market and it was such a replicable model. So we figured a way out. We actually auditioned on Dragon's Den. For those of you who don't know, Dragon's Den is effectively an American Idol or a superstar, but instead of having judges and performers, you had VCs, venture capitalists, and entrepreneurs. You're pitching the idea to these VCs, hoping they give us some money and we get the publicity. That'd be great. It worked out amazingly well. We launched 8 or 9 cities on the day of Dragon's Den. 2 million plus viewers came. We captured a bunch of them. It was a huge turning point in the company's history, and that all went really well. I think what people don't know was that the day of Dragon's Den, we actually sat down. We had a tech meeting because we were told to make sure that our website would be able to handle that high traffic that was going to come. That was the first time we had such a big audience at one time. So we sat down with the tech team and we said, what's a cool way to make sure that we still capture enough members in terms of them subscribing to TeamBuy if the site has problems, if it actually crashes due to high traffic? And so we came up with this new concept that we like to coin punishment as a reward. The way it works is, we said that obviously, if the website breaks down, tech is to blame. And we thought it would be a cool idea if we shared that information with the audience that was coming. So in effect, if you came to the site and it was having trouble, you were rerouted to another page that had jail mugshots of our tech team. And at the top, it said, our tech team has failed us on our big day. Sign up here to get the punishment video in your email. We've had numerous examples of punishment as rewards. We've actually leg waxed an employee who messed up a graphic, who insulted a client. We become well known for it now. When we do wrong things, when we mess up, our users love us for it because they know that something fun is coming in their email. Now, punishment is a reward. We're running late here, I was told. Punishment is a reward isn't the only funky thing we do at TeamBuy. We actually have Friday hug days. We all hug each other before we leave for the weekend. And we have the world's greatest hugger. I don't have a picture of him now, but he's probably watching live all the way from Canada. Culture is such an important thing. We call it the culture war, winning the culture war. We'll never be the best at technology. We'll never be the most experienced. Not if I'm going to keep these 23-year-olds running around. But where we do win is making people feel something. They say it's daily deals. Deals, how can you make somebody feel something about deals? We're putting the personality in deals. The whole business is about recommending cool stuff. If you can get people to feel something, they will go with you. And we've seen that time and time again. We're not that big company. We're not that company that's corporate, that's not going to say sorry when they go wrong. We're the complete opposite. And we can't quantify. Some of our new investors on board. We raised $7 million from a European fund. And some of them say, can you actually quantify all this fun stuff, this leg waxing? And does it have an effect on revenue? And we say, we can't quantify revenue, but I can tell you that a lot of people are coming through the door because they want to work at TeamBuy. They want to work at TeamBuy, and that's where you win with the culture war. Enemies. Enemies are generally a bad thing, right? I kind of agree with that, except I want to share a story with you that might give you a bit of a different perspective on enemies, and more precisely, imaginary enemies. We were approached by a big American company that wanted to finance TeamBuy, and they sent the business development guy who was wearing a suit, wearing jeans at the office, comes in and he says, we want to finance you. And we say, you know, we're kind of not ready, we're in discussions with somebody, maybe. And he said, let's put it this way. If we don't finance you, we're going to wipe you away. That's what he said. We're going to wipe you away. And we kind of kept that notion of what we wrote it on the board, actually. Wrote it on the board, wipe you away. That's what he said he was going to do. About a year later, a few weeks ago, I emailed him to tell him that we just beat one of the first two biggest American companies in terms of Alexa rankings. So we actually outperformed them in terms of traffic to the website. The email bounced. The email bounced. It never went through. The guy had left work 1 month after we talked. He doesn't even remember me. But in my mind, and in our minds as a team, we were going after this guy. He doesn't give a damn. But it works. If you don't have an enemy, create one. We're talking in business only, obviously. خلينا نحكي شوي عنكم وعنا وعن البلاد والشغلات الحلوة اللي عم بتصير والقصص. يعني احنا بكندا هلا صرنا ب 13 مدينة وعم نفكر نعمل اكسبانشن وعم نقرر وين بدنا نروح. طبعا الأردن ستارتنج بوينت طبعا رهيبة بصراحة. أنا عم بتابع من بعيد القصص اللي عم بتصير وعم بقول لكم بصراحة جد أنا دائما كل ما أحكي مع ناس وأقول لهم أنا من الأردن بتعرف شو بيحكوا لي؟ نايس. نايس. بس من الناس اللي من جنبي من البلاد الثانية ولا ممتاز. نايس. فوالله كثير بحبوا الأردن وبيسمعوا القصص الحلوة الانتربرينور شيب. وأهم شيء بالموضوع أنا لما قلت أصحاب الشلة هناك اللي بشتغل معها قلت لهم بدنا نروح على الأردن بدنا نروح على العرب. قال لي يا زلمة أنت مشتاق لأمك وبدك تروح تقعد وبدك تعمل يا زلمة تعال خلينا نشوف البلاد اللي هون اللي عندنا. رحت ورجيتهم ستاتس ورجيتهم شو عم بيصير بفيسبوك شو عم بيصير بتويتر شو عم بيصير بالموبايل. كل الستاتس بتدل انه في امل كبير وهذا الامل عم بيبدا من الجماعه اللي بالغرفه ومن الدوله. رح نيجي هون واول شيء بدنا نعمله بدنا نحكي مع ناس فاهمه شو عم بيصير على الارض، لانه الموديل نفسه تعلمنا من شركات كثير كبيره انه بس اللي بيجي بيعمل كوبي بيست هون ما بزبط. بدك تجرب تتويك الموديل، وبدك ناس على الارض فاهمه. هاي الخبره اللي عندكم اياها، هذا اللي بحكيه دائما انا، انه الناس they take for granted انه انا والله قاعد بعرف شو الناس بتحب تعمل بعد الغداء، بعرف وين بتحب تسافر، بعرف شو بتعملوا على الويكند. هاي يا جماعه هاي خبره، هذا علم بلاك بوكس للناس اللي من برا. هذا شيء عندكم اياه انتم، رح يفيد اي شركه بدها تيجي من برا، ورح يفيدكم انتم اذا لعبتوا ضد العالم اللي عم بيشتغل برا. ثاني شيء بدي احكيه بسرعه عن المنطقه، وشغله انا تعلمتها من هناك هي عن الفشل. failure. The world over there embraces failure. في دعاية نايكي مشهورة لمايكل جوردن بيحكي فيها I failed over and over and over again in my life, but that is why I succeed. في هناك تقريبا تحمس على شيء اسمه فشل. لازم الواحد يفشل. You have to fail to succeed. أنا من ناحيتي بتذكر أيامات البانكينج، بقدرش أقول لك إنه عمري حاسس إنه فشل بالمرة، بس في شيء بقول لك إنه لما تتصعب بالحياة بتتعلم، وما تخافوا من هذا الموضوع. أنا عم بحكي طبعا للأنتربرنورز، في ناس كثير منجزة شغلات أكثر مني لهلا، بس أنا عم بحكي للعالم واللي عم بسمع وعم بفكر يترك شغله ويبدأ شيء بحمسه وشيء بيحب فيه عشانه. فهاي مهمة كثير وتذكروها. آخر شغلة بدي أحكيها هي أول شيء خليني أقلب على الإنجليزي لأنه هيك كنت متدرب. Basically, a few days ago, I actually sat down with a friend that's also in the audience. Super talented girl, grew up together. We're both 26 years old. I've known her for about 20, and we haven't seen each other in a few years. And we sat down together, and we were catching up, and she said, you know what, I have my day job, I just quit it, I'm really not sure, like, you seem happy, you know, let's talk about it. And I said something that actually surprised me. I said, the difference between you and I right now is 12 months. 12 months is all it took to say, here's what I'm passionate about. And I went out, found the right people I believe in, and I couldn't have done this without them, and made it happen. Everybody in this room and everybody watching is better than everybody else at least one thing. Some people spend their entire lives finding what that is. Take your time, take a step back, and find it. I will leave you with one last thought, and that's an inspiring quote that I keep with me today that was told to me by one of my mentors. Shy away from those who belittle your ideas. Small people do that. The big ones, the really great ones, the giants, always give you a sense of hope that you too can one day be great. Thank you very much, guys.